As you may know from my video last week, my channel was hacked by invaders from another country, and that kept me out of commission for about 3 weeks. But I'm back in action now, making a video hopefully every week like I usually do. And last week somebody left a comment that they'd like to see an update on Alcatraz, my 240-gallon African cichlid tank. And yeah, it is about time that I talk about that tank again. And also somebody mentioned that they don't really know the difference between Peacocks and Haps, and I'm sure you might not either. So why don't we just talk about both of those things? Alcatraz is an 8-foot-long acrylic tank that's full of Elanocharis and Haplochromis, which are better known as Peacocks and Haps. And several months ago, I added some really great fish from Andre Pitre to my grow-out tank, and then about a month later into this tank. And I'm going to show you an update on what they look like, because I was blown away when they arrived at how beautiful they were, and show you what they look like now after they've been in Alcatraz with a bunch of grown-up psychopaths in there. But first, this tank really isn't in show detail, so I'm going to go ahead and get it cleaned up. Usually you see our tanks as fish tubers, after we've done a huge detailing on them. Like when you take your car in and you get rid of all the McDonald's trash and the fries underneath the seats, kids' boogers on the windows, and sometimes adult boogers on the steering wheel. Just saying. And then once I get that baby back in shape, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the difference between Peacocks and Haps.
White sheets over furniture, the same as when we left. Clean cut underneath. Light muslin and canvas till someone's coming back. Crunch under my feet. You never really said it all till you said it all. Testing, testing now. Where do we go from here? You never really said it all till we say it all. Got time if not, but I need to know. Where do we go from here?
The corners are the danger zones. You see, these guys are all completely crazy, but with Peas and Haps, there's a normal amount of crazy and then there's hyper crazy. When these weirdos go completely psycho and feel like killing everyone else more than usual, they often just pack up their belongings and head to a corner of the tank and start to work. And work for these special inmates is moving all the sand around of their corner to anywhere else. The smarter fish in the tank recognize this behavior and stay the hell away from it, at least until they sort out whatever needs sorting out in their tiny little fish brains. If you live in Alcatraz, you have to have a certain understanding that you just don't mess with crazy. Can you imagine if people were like this? The kids come home from school and see you flipping all the furniture away from the corner of the house you just claimed, building a barricade of end tables, chairs, and couches all around the perimeter, just daring anyone to defy you by crossing that line. Well, I suppose we actually do get a bit that way from time to time. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? Well, I can move the sand back in the tank the way I like it, at least for a good 10 minutes before they move it back again. They always do. It's their prison tank after all, not mine.
As I already mentioned, someone last week said that they didn't know what the difference between Peacocks and Haps was. And I remember when I first started, I had no idea what the difference was either. But even if you do know the difference, stick around because I'm going to talk about it and also show you my beautiful Peacocks and Haps while I'm doing it. Let's go to Fish Nerd School for just a second. They both belong to the Haplochromini tribe, or Haplochromines. They're separate genuses within that tribe, so Elanochara, or peacocks, and Haplochromis, also known as haps, are both Haplochromines. It may be confusing for you to tell the difference at first, since they're both so colorful and at least somewhat similar in appearance. But there are some important differences, especially if you're deciding on whether they'd be a good fit for your size tank. Elanochara stay on the smaller side, usually around 6 or fewer inches at maturity. It could be argued that in general they tend to display the most brilliant colors, but this isn't always the case, as some haps are absolutely gorgeous. They tend to be on the more aggressive side overall than the haps in my experience, but as I'll get into it in a minute, a good breeder can make a difference in this. Peacocks generally have all the same body shape, so you can just tell them by looking at the shape of their bodies. And they're dimorphic, with the females being much uglier than their male counterparts. This here is a peacock. Hello, I'm a peacock. On the other hand, Haplochromis, or haps, tend to get much larger than peacocks do. There are some that stay around the 6 to 8 inch mark, but many of them get to be larger than 9 inches, and some even past the 12 to 14 inch mark. Big guys. They're generally dimorphic like the peacocks, but not always. The blue moray, for example, the males and females are pretty similar in appearance. Haps don't all have the same body shape either, like the peacocks do. Check this out. He's a hap. He's a hap. This guy right here is a hap. Some haps are quite different, and you might not even recognize them as African cichlids at all. Ferk the second is kind of like that. If I didn't know better, I'd say he was just a normal, well-behaved citizen of the fish world, not suited for the confines of a tank like Alcatraz. But he's a full-blooded hap, and he's a good boy too. Aren't you, my little Ferk? Yes, you are a good boy. Not even a little bit crazy, this guy. He never digs pits in the corners of his prison tank. Every day is a good day for Ferk the second. Other fish in here find that irritating, that he's so calm, cool, and collected. But that's just the way he is. Some haps are known as predator haps. They really get off on hunting down smaller, bite-sized fish, often sucking out mbuna fry, which is another type of African cichlid, from small cracks in rocks. Some, like the venustus, even like to play dead. They lie on the sand, just like dead fish often do, and when some unsuspecting, well-adjusted fish who's just decided that today is a great day to start fresh and live life to the fullest, with no regrets, swims by, the venustus springs back from the dead and snatches him up before that poor fish even has a second to realize how vastly off his perception of his day, and indeed his perception of the entire universe, was. Make no mistake though, the predator haps aren't the only ones who will eat smaller fish. Pretty much any fish will eat a fish that's small enough to fit in their mouths. Remember I said that peacocks are generally more aggressive than haps? Well, sometimes haps can be even worse than peacocks, and that can be especially bad if you have a badass hap that's 12 inches long. Peacocks and haps share the same diet. Protein mainly, but they also love to eat vegetation. Absolutely love it. Add some plants to your peacock and hap tank and you'll see what the heck I mean. There are other differences and similarities between peacocks and haps, but those are the main ones. Same, but different. And in case you're wondering if it's weird that I keep peacocks and haps in the same tank, no, it really isn't. You just have to be mindful that you don't keep any fish that are so small that they could be eaten in here. And to be kind to your fish, make sure that the tank is big enough to accommodate the size fish you have. If you're wondering what a good sized tank for your cichlids would be, then check out the video in the upper right corner, and that'll give you a pretty good idea. Several months ago, I broke my #1 rule to get these beautiful fish from a breeder in Florida named Andre Pitre into Alcatraz. And if you don't know what that #1 rule is, you can check it out in the upper right corner. In that video, I talk about how beautiful these fish were, and it shocked me because I already saw pictures of them on Facebook. I knew exactly what I was getting, but when they arrived, they were even more beautiful than what I was expecting. But even when you have fish that have great genes and wonderful breeding like Andre's fish do, then you can still expect them to color down when they're being added to a tank like Alcatraz that has fish several times bigger than they are. So if they keep that color, then it's just an added bonus. And I can tell you, a lot of them did keep that color.
All the fish I'm singling out here are from Andre, and they're all doing really well except for one. I'll show you that guy in a minute. Most of them still have an outrageous amount of color too, especially the turquoise peacock, the Benga sunshine, the star sapphire, and even this guy. He's a firefish who is wasting away. No sunken belly on him, which is what threw me. That's what I always look for. A sunken belly is a telltale sign of a parasitic infection. So that's primarily what I look for. But he's very thin in the upper body, even up to his dorsal fin. But not the sunken belly. Internal parasites for sure. He's eating still, so that's great, and I've started medicating the tank's food with the API General Cure, which is a mixture of metronidazole and praziquantel. Andre was really helpful in pointing out the disease and which meds I should use to cure it. I always have to research diseases just about every single time one pops up because I have a shit memory. This tank also has a disease running through it called lymphocystis, which was probably introduced to the tank from some poor stock I received ages ago from a disreputable breeder from Tampa Bay, Florida.
I also have a video about this disease if you'd like to know more about it. It's very insidious. He really has nothing to do with this video, but just real quick, take a look at my beautiful boy, Percy the Wild Columbian Oscar. He might now not only be the best Oscar who ever lived, but maybe the best fish who ever lived as well. Percy's my bud. We hang out on weekends and we do just about everything together. Getting back to Andre's Africans, I once swore off peacocks entirely due to their aggression issues. But I gave peacocks another chance because of Andre's terrific breeding habits. He says he pretty much just breeds out much of their ultra-aggressive behaviors by selective breeding. And so far, so good. If you're thinking you want some of these beauties from Andre, then his link is in the video description. I'm really impressed with all the guys he sent me. They're beautiful, and so far I have no troublemakers in the group. Some of them even have a better attitude than I do. Alright, you should check out this video where I talk about what will soon be the nastiest fish I've ever owned. They're a cichlid that's so mean you can only keep a breeder pair or a single male in the entire tank, whatever size tank it is. They'll kill everybody else. Kind of like a lot of people I know. Alright, until next time, that's going to be a wrap.